Greetings, my fellow fearless self-thinkers. This is LO3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Thursday, December 7th, 2017. Yes, today is the commemorative 76th anniversary of what occurred in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, when the Japanese fleet attacked the American military base. Got the United States into World War II, and plus there's documented proof that the Franklin Roosevelt administration had prior knowledge of this and didn't have them to be aware. So some people call that an inside job. Yep, and of course there's stuff going on with Trump the agency going after Trump and moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Very interesting. Some people make these statements about how or the capital where Israel should be. You know what? Actually, you think about it, it's up to Israeli people to make a decision. On the other end, a lot of us know that it is a chartered nation by the UN, the United Nations. So everyone's trying to stick their nose where they don't belong. Yeah, that's why I have to always look at things a lot broader than what it is. Some people love it, some people hate it. Nothing new at all. So yes, I'm at CJ's Travel Lounge located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue along the New River, Fort Lauderdale, southwest section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge, which is in the New River Yacht Club. Yeah, I'm just mellowed out today. Hearing some music in the background. Not endorsing it by any means. Well, speaking of Israel and the United States, got an interesting article here came out in the Duran, and it's entitled Israel and the United States, an exceptional relationship. To understand why many Americans have no particular soft spot for Zionism nor Arabism are cheering on Donald Trump, one must revisit a short statement from Thucydides. This is by Adam Gary. As it says here, from the streets in Bethlehem where festivals to celebrate the birth of Christ have been transformed to people's protest. From the Syrian president to the Secretary General of the United Nations, from the EU to Turkey, Saudi Arabia to Iran, Russia and China to Britain and Germany, Qatar and Egypt to Iraq and Afghanistan. The condemnation of Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem, Al-Quds, as the capital of Israel has been unanimous. The reason that world powers, political parties, religious leaders, activists have reached this conclusion do, however, vary. Palestinians are fighting for their home and for justice. Muslims are fighting against an insult to their religious dignity. Christians, such as Orthodox patriarchs throughout the world, and the Catholic Pope are doing the same. Arabs are fighting for the unity of Arab nationhood, and countries like Russia and China are speaking for peace and calm amid U.S. provocations and destabilizing acts that neither of the more restrained superpowers wish to visit upon the Middle East. This is all clear enough. What is more worrying and indeed more exotic is the global heterodox behavior of Tel Aviv and Washington. The Israeli leadership and military have for years disregarded international law as though it is a frivolous pick-and-choose phenomenon rather than the last best chance the world has for a less violent order among men and nations. In 1947, the General Assembly of the young United Nations recommended a controversial plan, a partition, what was then British-controlled Palestine, in form of the UN General Assembly Resolution 181-2 181, subsection 2. The resolution was not binding and was not even intended to be the final proposal. It was meant as a starting point for negotiations at a national level. In spite of this, Zionist leaders declared their state of Israel anyway, which was eventually recognized by the United Nations in 1949, again under controversial and far from unanimous circumstances. It is not surprised that a state literally convinced from lawlessness, a unilateral declaration of independence should behave in a manner which consistently disregards international law. This is not unique in modern history, such as a solution was witnessed in terms of the unilaterally declared and implicitly erased the state of Rhodesia in 1965, as well as the unilateral declaration of the state called Kosovo, which has been illegally pried from occupied Serbian territory. Had Zionist leaders negotiated at the UN, as was the plan, rather than take matters in their own hands, things would have turned out differently and almost certainly for better from any perspective. Indeed, prior to the 1940s and moreover prior to the period of the British Mandate rule, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived peacefully in Palestine. In the sense of the Ottoman Empire was far better steward of Palestine than was the British Empire. Except for if you're Armenian, right? Yeah. What was more worrying than the attitude of Israeli leaders, which is not philosophically different from that of former Rhodesians and contemporary Kosovar leaders, is why contemporary U.S. leaders have adopted such a similar attitude. In a country, in the U.S., a country whose public schools are so notoriously poor that many cannot find the lemon on a map, on many Trump supporters and evangelical Christians are cheering on Trump's otherwise decided decision with all the fervor of Israel's far-right lit-up party. While some base their support on extremist interpretations of Scripture among putatively secular commentaries in the United States, there is a kind of Wild West attitude wherein anything strong is favored over anything perceived as weak, even when all weakness is a result of oppression rather than in its shortcomings. During the Peloponnesian War, when Athens was laying siege to the island of Melos, historian Thucydides quoted an Anician envoy in his dialogue with representatives of Melos. He said, "The strong do as they can, and the weak suffer what they must." The attitude seems to be kind of philosophical truism to be striving for what rather than cautioned against for many in the United States. This attitude is pervasive among people who are not seduced by Zionism or Arabism, but by power, rather than criticizing countries for faulting peace initiatives and pushing the world closer to conflict. Far too many in the United States prefer to cheer on might as though might not only makes right, but rather that might inherit is right. While other parts of the world, the argument is made that the mighty must become righteous. Such considerations are not popular in the United States, even as among ordinary citizens who, unlike their congressmen and senators, have never received a single penny from the Israel lobby. Donald Trump's decision is said by many of his more worldly apologists to be a mere recognition of the status quo in the occupied territories. The opposite is in fact true. It is a demonstration that the U.S. will reward military might, which led to the occupation of internationally recognized Palestinian territories, with a stamp of approval. Trump's move has already led to the shooting of Palestinian protesters, but mainstream media in the U.S. has not conditioned people to allow themselves to feel sympathy for the Palestinians. The Palestinians are armed mostly with stones, and from John Wayne to Bruce Willis, modern American myth heroes of the silver screen did not throw stones. Thus, Israeli exceptionalism and American tendency to worship power, irrespective of what power is used for, is truly something beyond a marriage of convenience. It's a marriage of inevitable proportions. And what do you think? Well, one person says here, from a person named Hamlet Quest, the marriage of reality TV hosts and geopolitics appear to show that neoconservatism, along with neoliberalism, has hit the Armageddon button, while claiming the allocade of the end of history as some kind of success. And may your God go with you. Ha 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 ha. Very interesting indeed. One thing you gotta look at, my friends. This is very touchy. And to be very frank, the United States should never really get involved. Oh, Israel, Jerusalem should be the capital. Please. It's all this outsiders trying to tell other people what to think. It happens over here as well. You got foreign influences, foreign entities and agents trying to tell us how to think. That's completely acidine, to be very sincere. The people of Israel, many people over there, Israeli, Semite, in their genes, may not like this either, and I can't really blame them. I do find this as a slippery slope when it comes to foreign policy, and I'm not the only one who will attest to that. But one thing for sure, people better start looking at it a lot broader than what it is. Can this be another New World Order platform? I believe so. And that's just my own personal view, but based on patterns that I've seen, even in that nation itself. Try to make it to a one world government. So that's something you have to really think about. And that is it on this title. And we got someone here. Came from the National Sentinel. And it says here, Whistleblower says top FBI executive suggested Bureau has personal motives to ruin Michael Flynn's career. How nice. Who wrote this? I have no idea. But as it reads, we are here today calling for an investigation of the FBI system and the procedure that have allowed special treatment and bias to run rampant. There's a big list of all of these people. And it says here, the swamp. A whistleblower has told U.S. lawmaker that he witnessed a senior FBI executive suggest the FBI had a personal motive and targeted former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn with the purpose of ruining his career. As reported by The Hill, the whistleblower told Representative Ron DeSantis, Republican from Florida, that there may have even be a video of FBI executives and agents discussing how to square Flynn. The news comes as FBI Director Christopher Wray is set to testify before the House on Thursday about an alleged anti-Trump political bias within the Bureau. Hill noted that DeSantis on Wednesday interviewed a recently retired FBI supervisor who said he was told by Deputy Director Andrew McCabe not to call the 2012 Benghazi attack an act of terrorism when he was preparing a report on the FBI's findings to the larger intelligence community. Oh, really? Very interesting, I would say, right? The agent found the instruction concerning because his unit had gathered incontrovertible evidence showing a major al-Qaeda figure had directed the attack and information had already been briefed by President Obama. The lawmaker said the Hill reported. In the days following the attack in which 4 Americans and the U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens were killed, the Obama administration, including then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, repeatedly blamed the attack on anger over an anti-Muslim video, not terrorism. That turned out to be false, of course. When you attack a country unilaterally and make that statement from Hitler, Clinton said, We came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. And she laughed. That's called blowback. That's what happened. Paul could proceed here. The senator says, the whistleblower story is another example of how the FBI was politicized under the previous administration. What operational reason would there be to issue an edict to agents telling them, in the face of virtually conclusive evidence to the contrary, not to categorize the Benghazi attack as a result of terrorism? By placing the interest of the Obama administration over the public's interest, the order is yet another data point highlighting the politicization of the FBI, DeSantis said. He also noted that there have been distinct differences in high-profile FBI investigations over the past years, notably that of Clinton's criminal mishandling of classified materials and the Bureau's probe of alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Data points we have regarding politicization are damning enough but appear all more problematic when viewed against the backdrop of investigations whose ferocity seemed to depend on the target. The Clinton case was investigated with an eye towards how to exonerate her and her associates, while the Russia investigation is being conducted using scorched earth tactics that seeks to find anything to use against Trump's associates, DeSantis told The Hill. In addition, DeSantis said he held talks with another whistleblower who claimed to be a witness to a teleconference in February between FBI leadership and special agents in charge the day Flynn resigned over misleading Vice President Mike Pence regarding his contacts with Russia's U.S. ambassador. DeSantis said that the person he spoke with claimed that a senior FBI executive made an inappropriate comment hinting that the Bureau had a personal motive in investigating Flynn and ruining his career. DeSantis wants the Bureau to let him know if there's a video recorded teleconference. Wildly divergent ways these investigations have been conducted to appear to dovetail with the political bias that has been uncovered, DeSantis said. Several Republicans have said they believe the FBI's handling of Clinton's email investigation was highly politicized with an aim towards exonerating who they believe would become their next boss. We are here today calling for investigation into the FBI systems and procedures that have allowed special treatment and bias to run rampant. Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican from Florida, said the law demands equal treatment for all, not special treatment for some. There is a clear and consistent pattern of treating the Clinton investigation differently than any other investigation. Interesting. So you gotta always. And they're right. You have to look. You gotta do it across the board. Quality of judicial due process. There's no exceptionalism. And you know what was interesting about that? Because even Michael Flynn was considered to be a whistleblower. Okay, during that time, when he was chief for the DIA, or Defense Intelligence Agency, he addressed that the CIA was involved in operating of ISIS. Hey, how nice, right? New Order 101. Plus, remember, he's a versatile Democrat as well. So, and that is very treacherous. You're going to try to ruin someone's career with lies and deception. Well, we know one thing about the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover was a Nazi sympathizer. Yeah, he was really influencing the Third Reich how to collect information on people. So something to really look at. I have that in my past archives. You can check it out yourselves. But yeah, very, like I say, it's something like you got to really think. More cloak and daggering going on, right? Absolutely. Okay, we have this little interesting here. Came from Andrew P. Napolitano, the Rockwell apprentice, with permission, of course. The General and the President by Andrew P. Napolitano, the judge. Let's see, this is a tale of FBI power misuse and presidential trust misplaced. Last week, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, President Donald Trump's confidant, matters pertaining to national security from June 2015 to February 2017 had a short-lived national security advisor in the White House pleaded guilty in federal court in Washington, D.C. to a single count of lying to the FBI. Under the terms of this plea agreement, Flynn, who has faced nearly 60 years in prison, had he been convicted of charges related to all matters about which there is said to be credible evidence of his guilt, will now face 6 months. Well, if you're Hillary Clinton, they'll give you the royal treatment, right? You can take parades and hallelujah and kumbaya. Well, we'll proceed here. What could have caused Robert Mueller, the no-nonsense special counsel investigating whether any American aided the Russian government, is now well-known interference in the 2016 American presidential election, to have given Flynn such an extraordinary deal? Here's the backstory. During the FBI's investigation of Russian meddling in the election, it became interest in Flynn's communications with Sergei Kislyak, a KGB colonel. The KGB is known as the post-Soviet anchor of FSB, masquerading as the Russian ambassador to the U.S. After Trump won the presidency, Flynn became an important member of the presidential transition team. Between the election and inauguration, Flynn spoke on the telephone with Kislyak 5 times because Kislyak was a foreign spy as well as the ambassador. His communications with Americans were monitored by the FBI. When Flynn agreed to be interviewed by the FBI in the West Wing office on January 24th, he probably did not know what agents were looking for. Jim Comey was still director of the FBI. Mueller had not yet been named special counsel. The FBI investigation into Russian meddling is just completed. Presidential election was in its infancy. Prior to the interview, the FBI obtained transcripts of Flynn's conversation with Kislyak. The conversation itself were not illegal. On the contrary, it's expected that the incoming presidential administration will begin to reach out to foreign leaders even before the new president is inaugurated. When the FBI interviewed Flynn, it asked him whether he had spoken with Kislyak, and if so, whether they had discussed American sanctions imposed on Russian individuals as a retaliation for Russian meddling in the election. Flynn acknowledged the conversation, but denies that they had been about sanctions. The two agents interviewed him knew immediately that he was lying because they had read the transcript on his conversation. Since the FBI knew the subject matter of the Flynn-Kislyak conversation, what was the purpose of the Flynn interview? And given that the conversations were lawful as long as they occurred after Trump's victory, why would Flynn lie about them? As well, given that Flynn once ran thousands of surveillance projects against high-level foreign targets, how could he not have known that the FBI knew what he had discussed with Kislyak before his agents walked into his office? Did Flynn have anything to hide from his interrogators? If he did, he has no doubt since revealed it to the FBI because his guilty plea required full cooperation with the same special counsel team that prosecuted him. Timing is everything. The question of whether the conversations occurred while Trump was a candidate and whether they involved the transfer of anything of value from the Russian spy to the campaign advisor or vice versa. Whether the campaign through Flynn helped the Russians in their meddling or the Russians gave helpful information to the campaign exchange of something of value. It is at the heart of Mueller's mission to prove or dispel allegations that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. 3 weeks after the FBI interviewed Flynn, Trump fired him. The publicly stated reason for firing was purported lie that Flynn had told the Vice President Mike Pence about his conversation with Kislyak last weekend on the day after Flynn pleaded guilty. The president issued a tweet claiming that he fired Flynn for lying to Pence and to the FBI. Flynn was fired in February for lying to the FBI in January. Then Trump was aware of Flynn's lies and his likely prosecution for them when he asked Comey to back off. The FBI investigation of Flynn and then fired Comey for not backing off. This is dangerous territory for the president. Obstruction of justice is the interference with a law enforcement or judicial proceeding for a corrupt purpose. Thus, if the president knew of Flynn's lies to the FBI when he asked Comey to back off, the existence of a president's campaign and impeachable offense depends on the president's state of mind. If Flynn backs off, if the back off Flynn request was given because the president felt sorry for the general or because he had concluded that the FBI's limited resources would be better utilized fighting terrorists or arresting bank robbers, there was no corrupt motive. But if the motive for the request to Comey was fear of what beans Flynn might spill about the president himself or his son-in-law, for example, that would be a corrupt motive, and the request would be a crime as well as an impeachable offense. Obstruction of justice is a rare federal crime that need not succeed and be criminal and prosecutable. It is also the rare federal crime that nearly all legal scholars agree is an impeachable offense. The president's lawyers are not among them. They have argued that because the president is a chief federal law enforcement officer in the land, his decisions on whom to prosecute are final and always lawful. That sounds like former President Richard Nixon, now fully discredited argument that when the president does it, that means that it's not illegal. In America, the president is a public servant, not a prince. There's a president. Is the president legal hot water? In a word, yes. So, it can vary, and they have to have all this information pertaining to this. What was really hilarious on this whole ordeal is you got a lot of biased peons out there that in the FBI, and when Trump became president, they all want a witch hunt. So that's the whole thing, a big turnoff. It looks like Al Franken's resigning. Well, he sucked as a senator anyway because he hates freedom, he hates the Constitution. Just look at his voting record, folks. It's just an example in regards to his party. But it is going to be a cloak and dagger as usual. We can find out how deep this rabbit hole goes. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Flynn was entrapped. Alright? Wouldn't be surprised at all. He'll just be the fall guy of what occurred. Even I told people, if it was an Israeli collision, they'll give that president a ticker tape parade and Michael Flynn a ticker tape parade and go the greatest men of 2017. Hallelujah. Well, one thing I know for sure, folks, it's going to be a lot of cloak and dagger going on. It's going to continue for a good long time. Ooh, yeah. All right. Well, next one here. Actually came out some time ago, a few days. And, hold on here. Just going to grab something. Yeah, okay, I got it right now. It's by Ron Paul Institute. It says here, young Americans want a new political party. Can you blame them? Well, it says here, do we need a third major political party? I often joke that it might be happy if we actually had a second party. When it comes to the big issues, war, monetary policy, civil liberties, Republicans and Democrats are more alike than different. Perhaps that's why a recent NBC News poll has found that nearly 2/3 of young American people surveyed don't believe in either Republicans or Democrats are doing a good job and that a third major political party is needed. I think it is an encouraging sign. I suspect the NBC News poll result reflects the fact that young people are not as easily hooked-winked by the mainstream media and by two-party duopoly charade in Washington. This generation has grown up with the internet and abundance of alternative media that challenges what is really a one-party system in the United States. They have been exposed to many new ideas, including good ones like libertarianism and non-interventionism. Currently, mainstream politics in the U.S. is all about power, how to get it and how to keep it. And it's not at all about philosophy or ideology. It's about selling out principles at every turn in order to chalk up another point in the win column. On issues like war and spending, it's incredible how easily the two major parties are able to compromise. A serious effort to create a new political party could be very exciting, but only that if a new party is based on real ideas rather than simply desire for power. Creating a viable third party will not be easy. While there is plenty written in the media about foreign collusion in U.S. elections, the real collusion is between the Republicans and Democratic parties to prevent new parties from joining them on a national stage in the ballot. Unfortunately, the Libertarian Party has failed to live up what should have been its role as an ideological alternative to Washington's one-party system. It was quite obvious in the 2016 presidential election, the Libertarians yielded to prevailing attitudes on war, welfare, the Federal Reserve, and more, and believing that winning was more important than standing for something. They ended up achieving neither. I would still like to have some hope for the Libertarian Party, but to really fill its role as a challenger of the two-party system that's actually a one-party system, it would need a major overhaul. It would need to actually embrace the core libertarian principles and non-aggression and non-intervention in the affairs of others. At the end of my 2008 presidential campaign, I brought together the candidates of the minor political parties and proposed that we agree on same basic principles regardless whether we are libertarians, considered progressives, or greens. Among those was the idea that we should never go to war unless we're directly attacked or threatened. The Federal Reserve should not be allowed to benefit the rich by creating money out in there, and that we should not endorse deficit spending. If a new party could come together and agree on these basic principles while agreeing to disagree on other less important priorities, we could begin formidable movement toward peace and prosperity. Let us hope that this NBC News survey provides the inspiration for a real pro-peace, pro-prosperity movement in the United States. I have much confidence in the youth of our country. And you know what? That's the good thing. Even a person like myself who's 49 years old, people complain about the young people. You're always going to have the active and the stagnant. This is how human nature is. It's been going on for millennia. And one thing I gotta say, I have not found of political parties in general. However, when it comes to those basic principles of liberty, peace, and prosperity, non-interventionism, and dismantle central banking, those are the people I will network with and align for those common interests. Yes, I am one of those individuals that supports these motives. And people got to really start looking and start educating themselves and study the history. Plus, look at their voting records of these so-called servants. The truth of the matter is, folks, we can make a difference. They want to sell you a product that you can't do a damn thing about it. Well, the hell with them. They're nothing more than parasites, psychic vampires. And symbolically speaking, chase them with the silver stake, and they'll be running out of the light. That's with the sun as well. All right, my friends, that is all. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're this interesting man I want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, which that's still a question. I'm checking at that every day, see what's happening with that. Minds.com, futurenet.club, patreon.com/LokiLuck3 with 3 eyes. If you want to be a donor, that would be awesome. I'm like all alone of the Zero Club, you know? That's okay. Or you can hit me on Gab, gab.ai. Free speech version of Twitter. Furthermore, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. And the encrypted ones, LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. Alright, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.